We are delighted
Yeah.
to welcome Satish Kumar today to talk about Living Earth Community, a new knowledge commons that we've just lifted up for the planetary community. And we have here as well one of the key wellsprings of this wonderful new website, Living Earth Community. And his name is Tyler Mark Nelson. He graduated from the Divinity School here at Yale. He's been a close colleague after his student years, and we're so pleased to have him start this interview with a little background on how Living Earth Community itself started. Over to you, Tyler.
Thank you, Mary Evelyn. Well, it's a pleasure to be here with Satish and with Mary Evelyn, and I'll say a quick word about the Living Earth Community project. So the Living Earth Community website is broken up into three wings, three branches. There is the intelligences of nature, ecological worldviews, and earth law. And so the intelligences of nature maps out contemporary scientific literature on the sentience, the intelligence, the agency and creativity of the more than human world. I like to say the flora, fauna, and fungi kingdoms and beyond. Then the ecological worldviews branch is how people are responding to this living, communicative, more than human world. And so there are different ecological philosophies and spiritualities, such as animism or pantheism, nature-based education, and so many more. Then earth law is this, coming from the thinking of Thomas Berry and indigenous communities, this idea that the more than human world deserves legal personhood and recognition in the legal systems across the world. And so earth law examines these ecological law movements on all continents across the world. And then drawing all this together, there's this vision for fostering dialogue across disciplines, across hemispheres, and across the people who are seeking to conserve and protect this biodiverse planet that we all co-inhabit.
Thank you for that great introduction. And we're going to just keep you right here while we do this interview, and you are most welcome to chime in as things occur to you, Tyler, because he had already started a huge bibliography on this idea of the sentience of nature, Satish. And this was the joy of having the next generation so dedicated to this topic that he worked with a team assiduously, very, very carefully for a year and a half to make this happen. So, Satish,
I would like to congratulate you, both of you, for launching this wonderful Living Earth Community website. And I looked at this website. It's a wonderful, very comprehensive, very inclusive, and very overview. It's a wonderful, wonderful website. And I hope that this spreads around the world and many people watch it and be inspired by it and then act upon it.
Thank you, Satish. We're so touched because you have inspired so many people around the world. And here you are going strong, 89 years old. We're so honored to be with you. And, we'd love to just draw you out on a few points, but we have lots to talk about. So, as a Jain in your youth and bring forth that incredible tradition of ahimsa and respect for life, how does this website strike you?
I mean, as a Jain, I thought your website was very much in the kindred spirit and very much in sympathy with the Jain worldview. Because Jain worldview always see that humans and nature are one. Our modern scientific worldview or modern industrial worldview, or more, you can say, modern materialistic worldview, see nature and humans separate. And we think that humans are above nature, superior to nature, and nature is only as a servant or as a kind of means to an end, and mainly as a resource for economy. But the Jain philosophy believes that nature is a sentient beings, and we are all nature, at a different expressions of nature. Trees are different expressions, animals are different expressions, mountains are different expressions, humans are different expressions, and within humans, some Africans, some Indians, some Chinese, some Americans, they have different looks and different language and so on. So the diversity should not be division. Diversity should not be seen as something superior, inferior. Like all human beings are equal, in the same way, nature, mountains, forests, animals, and humans are all at the same level. That's a Jain idea. This is why we say, do no harm to anyone. Non-violence and love of nature, love of mountains, love of forests, and even Jains will not even harm a mosquito. Jains will not harm even an ant. They will. When I was a monk, I will walk with a little brush in my hand and sweep the floor before I put my foot on. And then I will have a little musk on my mouth so that if any insect are hurt by my breath, that'll be harmful. So respect for nature and unity of nature and humans is a fundamental principle of Jains.
Yes, so
and
beautiful.
You have that articulated in your own way in your website. That's a wonderful to see.
Yes, yes. So the point here is this has been in the traditions of the world, the indigenous tradition, Jainism, Buddhism of the sentient beings, and so on. Many, many traditions have had this understanding. So just to push this forward a little bit, how does this idea of sentience, of different intelligences in nature, help us with biodiversity preservation, for example?
Yeah. You know, nature is our teacher. From a Jain perspective, we say, my mother used to say that we should see honeybee as our teacher. And honeybee goes from flower to flower without harming any flower. Never a flower has ever complained that honeybee came and took too much nectar away. So that frugality and that kind of light touch of the bee and going flower to flower, taking nectar here, little nectar there, and then the honeybee teaches us to transform that nectar into sweet, delicious, healthy, healing honey. That's a marvelous. How many humans can do that? We humans take something from nature, take too much and destroy it and make pollution and create waste, all that. But honeybees don't do that. So my mother, as a Jain follower of Jain religion, she used to teach me that nature is our teacher. Then she would say, look at the mango tree. Mango tree has one seed, and if you plant that one seed into the soil, and the relationship with the soil and the seed and the water and the sun makes that seed grow into a tree, and that tree will give you thousands of mangoes, and each mango will have a new seed in it. And then from those seeds you can plant thousands of mango. From one seed you can do that. That's the abundance of nature, and yet no pollution, no waste, no harm to environment, no global warming, no climate change, nothing. So that's if we can have our economy mangonomy. My mother would say mangonomy. Mangonomy is the economy of mango. So that's the kind of nature our teacher. And in your website, you have been able to articulate and you have been able to communicate that the quality of nature. And this is why I'm so happy that you have launched this wonderful website.
Thank you, Satish. It's just so great to hear everything you're saying, because you have shared and taught for so long about this quality of life, the givingness of life, but the intelligence of life, right? And
yes.
So Tyler's going to just bring Thomas Berry into the conversation along
yes.
the lines.
Yes. Yeah, Satish, I love what you're sharing here. And I'm curious, how does this relate to Thomas Berry's idea of Earth as a communion of subjects and not...
Thomas Berry was my dear friend. And we met many times, and he came to teach at Schumacher College. And one very wonderful teaching he gave us and all the students at Schumacher College was that the universe is not a collection of objects. Universe is a communion of subjects. So that means that nature is not an object to be exploited, but nature is a subject to be related. So we are all in relationship with the universe. So trees, mountains, rivers, oceans, animals, birds, all are our kith and kin. And we are all subjects of the universe and not object. And that was a great teaching of Thomas Bailey. And I remember his presence at Schumacher College, and the students were so inspired and so kind of uplifted with his teachings. And so that was in a way, and his Dream of the Earth was a wonderful book, and the Universe Story was another great book. So he combined his theology and his understanding of the universe from a spiritual point of view with the scientific worldview as well. And the evolution and the universe story is how evolution has taken place. So very rarely somebody can bring that kind of holistic, ecological, spiritual, theological, and scientific worldview all in one book. That's quite amazing. So he was a great inspiration to me. And the Schumacher College students loved him. And we were spending until about 11 o'clock at night talking to him. And we never kind of tired of talking to him.
Since you named it, here is the Dream of the Earth. I keep on my desk here in the office.
It's a wonderful book. Wonderful book.
Yes, in 1988. And he, like you, had these ideas, decades ago.
Yes.
So I just want to bring in, because again, the central part of this website is the different ecological worldviews that have emerged in relation to your teachings and Schumacher's great role in all of this. And there's many of these Earth ecological worldviews, right, of that are dependent on a communion of subjects, like the Gaia hypothesis, which was so critical at Schumacher, and also deep ecology, and the pantheism or panentheism and religious naturalism, etc. But I don't know if you'd like to speak maybe about the Gaia hypothesis that was
James Lovelock was another good friend of mine,
right?
And we were neighbors in Devon. And we used to go to Dartmoor, walking and kind of swimming in the river Dart, and a wonderful friendship. And when I wanted to establish Schumacher College, I said to him that I would like you to be our first teacher. Because before you, the mainstream science look at Earth as a dead object. You are the first mainstream scientist who is saying that Earth is a living organism. I said, Earth is a living being. And this is a kind of very new science. And so he said, yes. So he came to teach at Schumacher College for 5 weeks, and he taught about Gaia. And Gaia is the kind of basically saying that Earth is a living organism and everything is interrelated, interconnected, interdependent, and the Earth is self-organizing, self-managing, self-sustaining ecosystem, living organism. It's a living being. And he said to me that how can a dead Earth produce life? To produce life, the living being can produce more life. Like a man and woman meet together can create another person. A seed and a soil together can create a tree. So only a living being can create living being. And therefore, this idea that Earth is a dead object and a dead rock, and humans are living being is completely contradictory. And so he taught for 5 weeks at Schumacher College, showing people that the Earth is a living organism, nature is a living organism, and humans and nature are not separate, and humans are not above nature. And that was a basic Gaia. And Gaia word comes from Greek words, Greek language, and from Gaia comes geology, geography, geometry, but scientists have reduced that to a very kind of reductionist discipline. But James Lovelock said Gaia is a goddess of the earth. And he said even science should embrace the idea of the goddess of the earth and a living organism. So that way, Gaia, and he made, a lot of mainstream scientists in Oxford and Cambridge and so on did not accept this idea that Earth is a goddess and Earth is a living organism, they did not accept. But majority of ordinary people, because he was a very popular author, and his books were sold in tens of thousands of copies. And the ordinary people loved his philosophy and loved his science and loved his kind of hypothesis. And all Gaia became a theory, I think, but many people call it still a hypothesis. So they loved it. Ordinary people loved it. His books became very popular, but the mainstream scientists in academia and so on, they didn't like the word Gaia. They said maybe we should call it Earth system theory or something like that. So that was a kind of controversy. But he said, no, we should call it Gaia, the goddess of the earth, and the living organism, and we should not compromise. He was very strong on that.
Right. Yes, and we had Lynn Margulis, his partner in this hypothesis, come to where we were teaching, and she got a pushback from the scientists. But I also just want to pay tribute to your colleague, Stephen Harding, who worked closely with James Lovelock, and his beautiful book, Animate Earth. We really treasure that book. So you've been a center of this at Schumacher College, and Stephen Harding was such an inspiration as well, because he did like an earth walk, right?
Yeah.
And that many people took this earth walk that was great inspiration.
I mean, he could deep time walk.
Yes.
Deep time walk he invented. And Stephen Harding came to teach at Schumacher College. We appointed him for the very first year. Yes. So he was at Schumacher College from the very beginning. Yes. And the first course, Stephen Harding did not know James Lovelock before he came to Schumacher College. Yeah. But James Lovelock and Stephen Harding became best of friends.
Yes.
And they worked together. And then, inspired by James Lovelock, Stephen Harding wrote the book Animate Earth, and then Gaia Alchemy. And then he was a great teacher. And then he also met Arne Naess. And then he embraced the idea of deep ecology, because Arne Naess came up with this idea that some environmentalists take care of nature because it is useful to humans. Mm-hmm. We should go a step further. This is shallow ecology to say we protect nature only because it's useful to humans. So very anthropocentric worldview, very human-centered worldview. So Arne Naess, in kind you can say in relationship with Gaia and James Lovelock, they were good friends. Arne Naess came up with this idea of deep ecology, where say nature had intrinsic value. Yes. The value of nature should not be determined by the usefulness to humans. That anthropocentric worldview. Gaia and deep ecology go together, and they are complementary to each other. And therefore, if we say deep ecology means nature is alive, living organism, but also has intrinsic value. And so nature is not simply a means to an end. Nature is not simply a resource for the economy. Nature is it has a right, like humans have human rights. Nature has rights of nature. And so we should have, so trees are good, not because they give us fruit, they give us wood, they give us shade, they give us something. But nature, the trees are good in themselves. So like humans are good in themselves. But Arne Naess even said that not only our economic system and our industrial system has turned nature as a resource for the economy, but they have even turned humans as a resource for the economy. And they have department called HR, human resources. Yeah. So humans have become the resource for making profit, running organization, or making money, or producing industrial goods. So he said even humans have lost their intrinsic value, and nature has lost. So deep ecology means the humans and nature have intrinsic value, and we should revere nature. The kind of reverence for nature, deep reverence for nature, is the deep ecology. So Gaia and deep ecology together, and Thomas Berry's idea that this is a kind of spiritual foundation and a kind of religious foundation, and all the kind of great tradition of Taoism, Shintoism, Buddhism, Hinduism, and all the great traditions, even Jesus Christ loved nature. So if you go at St. Francis, And by the way, in your article in Resurgence, we are publishing and we are putting St. Francis as a kind of picture to go along with your article. So St. Francis was a great deep ecologist, and he said that animals are living organisms and trees are living organisms, and we should respect them. They are creation of God. They are created by God. And so this kind of combination of Gaian science and a deep ecological philosophy and a kind of dream of the earth theology, the trinity coming together, science, philosophy, and theology coming together as a trinity, three aspects of one ecological worldview. That was a tremendous, and I was very honored to have all these three teaching at Schumacher College and promoting the idea of trinity of scientific, ecological science, ecological philosophy, and ecological religion.
I love it. And only you can speak in that comprehensive way. And the fact that all these seeds were planted in the garden of Schumacher College, it's so marvelous. And that's a perfect transition. So we've kind of covered the first part of the website, the sentience of nature, the ecological worldviews that you helped birth at Schumacher. And then the third part of this website, I'd love for Tyler to pick up on Earth Law.
Sure. So I appreciate how you named the ecological science, ecological philosophy, ecological spirituality, and now introducing Earth Law and rights of nature. How do these arise when we recognize the sentience of nature?
Yes. I mean, I would say we need to work on this Earth Law and recognize that in our legal system, we need to recognize that trees and rivers and mountains and animals and birds and all the natural living beings have a legal status, and they have legal rights. And so rivers have right to flow freely and uncontaminated, unpolluted, undammed. And the rivers are there. We have to be grateful to rivers. We have to say thank you, rivers, for providing water to everybody, quenching our thirst. Trees, humans, animals, all can have water from trees, but without contaminating, without polluting. Humans have no right to put sewage in the river, or chemicals and fertilizers in the soil, or cut down rainforests just because we need more kind of commercial crops. So this kind of recognition of natural beings and earthlings or earth beings, and giving them legal right, and there are some companies, businesses and industries, but some of them, not very many, but few of them, have a member on their board which represents nature and speaks for nature and speaks for earth and for rivers and animals and a forest and a rainforest and so on. And I would say that every government should have a minister who speaks for nature. Every business should have a board member who speaks for nature and say how this decision will impact the natural world, how this law will impact our rivers and mountains and rainforests and animals and birds and insects and so on. So that kind of legal right of nature needs to be recognized. There are few governments starting a small step in the right direction and giving some rights to nature, but there are very, very few. Out of 200 countries, maybe 5 or 10 countries are making a small step in the right direction. I think New Zealand has a little bit of legal rights for nature, and in India also they are recognizing the Ganges has some rights, but very small steps. I would say we need a much more work on that level and there is a kind of earth jurisprudence movement in England, and there is a kind of a body of lawyers in England who are speaking for nature, taking nature on the court and saying that we represent nature, and what you are doing is damaging nature, and we have to protect nature, we have to save nature, we have to defend nature. And they are very, very effective. There are, I think, about 50, 60 lawyers working in that movement, Earth Justice movement. So I think this is a very new movement, and I think we need to develop it further and make it a strong movement.
I love that. And again, our mutual teacher, Thomas Berry, of course, set out some of the first principles for Earth jurisprudence, which is so marvelous. And Satish, to tell you the truth, I think I shared this with Tyler. You know, when he came out with this at the end of his life, we need a new Earth jurisprudence, right? And he said, we invented the idea of rights and gave them all to the human. And we would laugh. And then he did the first conference with people and down in Washington, D.C. And John and I kind of thought, this is great, but it's not going to have traction. But you know, the amazing thing, as you've seen in your lifetime, how many of these movements have traction now. And even though you say they're small, but they're growing, and Ecuador just has reaffirmed it in its constitution, you know, Mother Earth and rights of nature. And I just want to mention that John and Tyler and I will be working with NYU Law School, where they have a rights of nature section in the law school, and also MOTH, More Than Human World. And Tyler might want to say something about the conference last spring that we all participated in with two incredible Latin American leaders from the NYU Law School.
Absolutely. Yeah, so last March, I believe, down at NYU Law, the MOTH program hosted its first ever MOTH conference with the MOTH Festival of Ideas. And the MOTH conference was a gathering of scholars from around the world presenting their work in a very collaborative manner. Then the MOTH Festival of Ideas brought in artists and poets from around the world, as well as musicians, legal scholars, scientists, and so on. It was really a remarkable gathering. And the way that they were able to weave in ecological science and earth law, earth jurisprudence, even bringing in the indigenous leaders from Ecuador who had been so key in changing the Ecuadorian constitution in 2008 to give nature rights. And of course, Cesar and Carlos are two of the partners who we've been conversing with and really just enjoying this conviviality that's just bursting forth between our two organizations.
And of
course,
that's
wonderful. Congratulations to all those people who are leading this movement. And I think many people need to join this movement, because at the moment, nature is being treated as if it's just a kind of like a sink, and we can just do what we like, kind of freedom people think that they have, but they don't have such freedom. They should not have such freedom. And I think we should live, our economy should be more like nature's economy. Economy of nature is not vertical, it's a horizontal. In rainforest, a tree will grow to 40, 50 feet, and that will stop, and then another tree will grow, and another tree will grow, and many trees will grow. So it's a kind of more horizontal growth in nature. The economy of nature is more horizontal, but our human industrial commercial economy is more vertical. Some people can become billionaires, millionaires, trillionaires, and then other people are even looking for a house or looking for some food or looking for... So this kind of inequality is a very kind of big challenge. So I think if we learn from nature and our model our economy as the economy of nature, and that will be a kind, and a human should be humble. Humility and human should be together. And also people should remember that human means humus, and humus means soil. So human beings are literally soil beings. So if the soil had no right, humans have no right, because we are made of soil. Our food is soil. Our clothes are made of soil. Our houses are made of soil. So if we don't give rights, legal rights and legal status to soil, how can we have legal rights and legal status to ourselves? So I think this fundamentally we have to learn from nature. We have to be humble, and we have to appreciate the beauty, the magnanimity, the generosity, and a kind of sharing that earth and nature does for all humans, so that we humans can thrive and survive. So I think at the moment, humans, industrial culture, industrial civilization have become too arrogant. This arrogance of humans has to be challenged.
Yes, so true and so beautifully said. And I know that we'll want to connect you. Robin Kimmerer will probably speak about the gift economy that you've just referred to, and we'd love to involve you in this effort with NYU and so on. And I just want to put into the conversation, because you said it so beautifully, Satish, and the Confucian tradition that I study and admire, even though all the traditions have their problematic sides too. But one of the great texts says, how can we align ourselves with the
Yes.
transforming and nourishing powers of the
Yes.
cosmos and the earth? How can
Yes.
we align ourselves with these transforming powers? And that's what this website offers. And it's the gift of your life and your teachings. And I want to give Tyler maybe the last question or comment and see what he wants to draw out from you a little bit more, perhaps.
Absolutely. So the idea that comes to mind is wonder and awe, and how not only how we can inspire people to reclaim this wonder, this sense of the world being this vibrant, life-filled place, but how that wonder and awe can then also lead to action, inspire folks to wonder, but also to act to protect this beautiful, biodiverse planetary community.
Yes, that's a very good point, Tyler, that we need to have the kind of awe and wonder and the magic that nature has for us. And in order to have that experience of awe and wonder, one thing we need to do is to reconnect with nature.
Mhm.
Our schools and universities have become totally disconnected from nature. I would like to see every school in the world should have a garden where children can see the miracle of nature. They can see that you plant one tiny seed of tomato in the soil, and that's one tomato seed, tiny seed, can become a plant and can have leaves and can have flowers and can have tomatoes, green tomatoes, yellow tomatoes, red tomatoes, sweet tomatoes, juicy tomatoes from that one tiny seed. That's the awe and wonder. That's a kind of miracle of nature, the magic of nature. But nobody understands that. Nobody experiences that. Now children think that tomatoes come from a little plastic bag in a supermarket. They have no idea the magic and the miracle of nature that there is. So I would say that if you want to bring awe and wonder and a kind of amazement of nature, that every school in the world should have a garden. And children should work at least 1 hour, 2 hours every week, like they learn maths and science, and they learn a kind of many other things like history and geography. They should learn to garden. And then they will see, and they will say, wow, what a miracle that I planted one seed in the ground, and that's becoming like a plant, a mango seed or apple seed or tomato seed. So I think that would be a way to bring that awe and wonder and the magic and miracle of nature into our daily experience of life.
That is so beautiful. And of course, again, I give the credit to Tyler and the team, especially Tara Trapani, who led the team. Immense credit for understanding what you just said, and I think filling us with the most extraordinary photographs of nature that inspire. You just open that website and you're in awe of the
Yes,
beauty.
it is wonderful. And I hope that your website can be seen by children in every school and students in every university. In our England, we have universities like Oxford and Cambridge. They have thousands of acres of land, but our students never see the land. They never see the trees. They sit in the closed classroom and in front of a screen, and they think all of knowledge is in the screen. But
Yeah.
all the knowledge is not in the screen. Knowledge is in trees and in soil and in the animals and the rainbows and the oceans and the rivers and the mountains. And they don't see it. They don't experience it. So I think your website is a wonderful invention and a wonderful gift. It's a true gift to the world. And I hope that our children in schools and universities can watch it. And then after watching, they go out in nature and experience nature and explore nature and admire nature and celebrate nature and be nature.
I love that. And I want to say here at Yale, there is a farm that's created by students. And at the Divinity School, there's a very special farm too. So your point is so well taken. Satish, we could talk all morning. We have been so grateful to have your brilliance, your luminous presence, your both ideas and your heart right here with us. I feel like we could just sit and have tea. And we thank you for everything we've shared.
It has been my great pleasure to speak with you, Mary Evelyn and Tyler, and what you have done in your life and you, through your books and through your videos and through your website, what you have done in the service of humanity is absolutely marvelous. And I admire your work, and it has been a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Satish. What a delightful conversation. It's just been a joy to share this time with you. Thank you.
Thank you.